What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Entre Mike back with the Entre Show for Entrepreneur. And if you guys are new to this channel, we're going to be going over trucking news, trucking market updates. So if you guys want to know what's going on with the market and how rates are trending for 2026 and moving forward, I suggest you hit the subscribe button, like the video, and comment down if you like this type of content. And today we're going to be diving into non-domiciled CDLs and the data that's revealing if now is a time where accidents, crashes, violations are worse than previously before, or is this just a lot of political rhetoric being pushed around to get foreigners out of trucking? Who really knows, right? I want you guys to comment down. What do you think the pressure is for non-domiciled CDLs to be put out of the industry? Do you think it's just a scapegoat to get away from fixing the issues that really matter in broker regulation, fraudulent CDLs, or is this just a political play? Is this just a way to just get people to feel a certain type of way? And at the end of the day, they probably won't do anything about it. Well, that's what we're going to be covering today. Shout out to Adam Wingfield. I know I'm connected with you on LinkedIn. I really enjoyed this article that he put out today. Non-domiciled CDL drivers and highway safety. What the numbers say, what they don't, and how social media fills in the gaps. So the main thesis of this entire article is that the FMCSA does not track crash involvement by a driver's citizenship or CDL category, which means national crash trends cannot be linked to any specific subgroup. Now, if you guys are tuning into this for the first time because you're a regular viewer of the channel, non-domiciled CDLs have been probably the hottest topic or political topic within trucking for probably the past 6 months to a year. And the reason being is that we have anywhere from 200,000 drivers to, I've heard counts as high as 600 to 800,000 drivers that could be up for basically not being able to renew their license come in September of 2026 due to Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, kind of putting his foot down saying these quote unquote foreign drivers shouldn't be hauling 80,000 pound vehicles if they have not got the proper CDL requirement, right? Now, these non-domiciled CDLs were initially given to foreign drivers due to them having a CDL in another country. Sean Duffy argues that the initial reason that non-domiciled CDLs were created were to be for people to use for out-of-state use. So if I'm a guy in Georgia who wants to haul in Alabama, I can get a non-domiciled CDL in Alabama because I have a CDL in Georgia. So regardless if that's the true reason why it was made, we have a ton of foreign drivers in the industry at this current point. Back into the article, the debate over non-domiciled CDL holders and immigrant CDL drivers who entered the workforce after 2019 has exploded across social media. One viral crash video, I'm pretty sure you guys remember the U-turn down in Florida. One fraudulent licensing scandal becomes proof of a national crisis. One politician posts a clip, and suddenly the internet decides an entire segment of trucking workforce is the root cause of rising accidents. So we're not going to go into this whole thing. If you want to read it, you can. This is the juiciest part right here. So this is the FMCSA trends showing a steady decline across trucking since 2021. Right. So this is showing the vehicles involved in fatal and non-fatal crashes, number of fatal crashes, number and non-fatal crashes, fatal and non-fatal crashes, number of fatal crashes, number of non-fatal crashes. You guys get the point. If you guys look at this chart, literally year over year, I mean, it was 21 and 22 are very similar, but 2023, 2024, and 2025 year to date, and we're in the last month of December, is lower. Now, to be fair, as an owner operator who was in the industry at this time, 2021 and 2022 had probably the most amount of carriers in history. So this isn't representing based on how many drivers are in, if that makes sense. So during 2021 and 2022, including 2023, there were more drivers in the industry. So of course there were more. You guys kind of saw that the trim rates are showing basically that we are lower year over year. Even if you want to make the argument that, okay, yeah, there are less trucks, it doesn't look like the percent based on the percentage of trucks that are here, that there are more accidents per truck, if that makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with this issue into 2026, because we do have a supply issue, meaning we have too much capacity. But at the end of the day, we still do not have enough demand. We don't have enough freight, honestly, to signal that we're just going to have the best freight market ever in 2026, regardless on if we lose about 5% of our capacity. It's kind of like putting a band-aid on a problem, right? It's not like you get rid of all of the foreigners and now we're just going to have rates go to the moon, for owner operators. So we got to kind of see why they're making these sharp decisions so fast. Now, this is a good point right here. Check out the non-domiciled CDL growth curve and why it's so misunderstood. Before I get too deep into this article, I think it's and this isn't me being political or anything. Like I said, I don't have a political voice. I don't vote. I really could care less. It is hilarious to me how many people are talking about these fraudulent CDL mills giving out licenses when back in the day, like back in the 90s, you could literally get your license just by knowing a friend who knew a friend that could get you a license. Like you could go to a certain class. I heard guys didn't even drive trucks. Like I've talked to experienced truckers where they basically said they just handed them out. I also know guys who are in the military, depending on what, let's say you're a diesel mechanic or a driver and you never took a CDL test, you could be exempt from having to do that to get your CDL. Now that all of that stuff may not be in practice today. You also had before the mandate in 2022 where you had to do the ELDT training, you could literally go get a pickup truck and a gooseneck flatbed. Let's say it was a CDL registered truck, and you could get your CDL just by passing the pre-trip on a dually and knowing how to drive a 40-foot or 30-foot gooseneck with a 1-ton truck. So I don't know why we're making it seem like it's just so easy to get a CDL now. It's always been easy to get a CDL. That's the truth of the matter. It has always been easy to get a CDL. The issue now is that we're trying to pinpoint the problem on who's getting the easier CDLs. That's kind of like what it sounds like to me. And that's just coming from somebody who's gotten their CDL by going to a 5-week, 6-week ELDT training provider school, whatever you want to call it. Like somebody who's a registered CDL school, and you drive for 4 of those 6 weeks, and the other 2 weeks you're just learning how to pass the information on the test. Now, I will be very honest and transparent in saying anybody could pass that class if you just showed up. But if you didn't go through intensive CDL school, like a 3-month class, if you went to one of those 1 week, 2-week classes and they just told you everything on how to pass and you got your CDL today, you're no better than the people doing the ELDT training nowadays, right? That's just my opinion. Now, that's not for me to say regulation is better today than it was then. I'm just saying I don't think there's ever been good regulation on CDL drivers. It's just now that we have too many drivers, too much capacity, it seems like all of this stuff is an issue. That's kind of my take on it. I think we still have a capacity issue. I think when we didn't have any drivers, it wasn't an issue to have any and everybody driving the truck because we needed more capacity in order to supply the demand. But now that we have too much capacity and not enough demand, we got to figure out how we can legally get as many people off of the road. And I don't think it's going to stop with non-domiciled CDLs. I believe there's going to be more restrictions on different types of equipment, different types of drivers, depending on your history. I think it's going to be harder to start a motor carrier authority. I just truly do. So that's the main reason why I'm covering these topics. And then later into the article, Adam kind of goes a little deeper into social media where anecdotes become evidence. So now we get to the part where most people feel every day, the nonstop stream of viral clips. A few of the most widely shared videos and tweets we have seen on X amass millions of views. Most follow the same storyline: a crash involving a truck, a claim, sometimes without verification, that the driver was an illegal immigrant, followed by political commentary. Then a tidal wave of replies assuming correlation equals causation. And then here's an example. Yet another foreigner CDL driver rear-ended a truck while barreling down the highway. The driver doesn't speak any English, had no shoes on, and probably had a CDL issued to him illegally. This is a man's hard work ruined by a guy who shouldn't even be in this country. Now, they're going to be one-off situations, of course so, but there are also one-off situations from people who just don't have CDLs, operating CDL equipment in the first place. Right? I remember running into a logger who got pulled in for a roadside inspection, and he had been driving for like 3.5 years without a CDL, operating a log truck. Like, and these logs trucks are heavier than 80,000 pounds most of the time. They're overweight, like on all axles. So this isn't like I'm glad that there is more visibility for like public road safety, but I don't think we're looking at the right group of people. I think we need to be looking at the entire industry as a whole, and we also need to be looking at regulations on how we can make the carrier side more effective. What are your guys' thoughts? It's not really about what I think, it's about what you think. Comment that down off in the section. I'll see you guys in next week's video. Peace.